I heard the yell before I could see them. "Sir, back up from the fire pit and place your hands in plain sight." I spun around, a marshmallow roasting stick in one hand, a half-cooked s'more in the other. Flashlights sliced through the woods, red and blue lights flickering on the peaceful lake in front of me. Two policemen came hurrying up, one with his hand resting on his holster. "I'm just camping," I explained, my heart racing. "This is my lake." One of the officers snapped. "We got a call from the HOA president. She indicates you're trespassing on private property belonging to the neighborhood." I rose slowly, sweeping pine needles from my flannel shirt, and smirked. "This lake, this property," I indicated with my arm to the still shoreline, "they're not only mine. They've been trespassing on my ranch for years." The officers looked at each other. I took out the laminated deed from my backpack, the one that would put an end to it all. But let's go back in time, because all this wouldn't have occurred if I hadn't planned to unplug for the weekend. I am Thomas Walker, but people in Maplewood, just north of Austin, Texas, call me Tom. I am 42, a single father and a ranch owner. I inherited this property from my grandfather after I lost my wife 3 years ago. I've been taking care of my 12-year-old daughter, Harper, along with raising cattle, repairing fences, and attempting to begin an organic meat enterprise. Life has been unrelenting, and so I vowed Harper a weekend of no phones, no Wi-Fi, just us, camping by the lake my grandfather referred to as Mirror Point. What I didn't realize was that the Oak Glen Estates HOA had been using my lake as their private country club, thinking it belonged to them. I'm a generous man. Share water, assist a neighbor, but respect is mutual. I was soon to discover how little respect this HOA had behind their block party smile. Harper and I pitched camp near the old dock, grilled sausages, toasted marshmallows, and shared creepy stories. Life seemed to stand still until irate voices carried across the lake. "Who authorized them to camp here? This is for HOA members only. Call the police." I dismissed it at first, thinking it was kids. Then flashlights descended, and here she was, Linda Masters, HOA queen, pearls in the woods, coordinating sweater for her dog, surrounded by 2 board members with clipboards. "This is a violation of HOA rules," she snarled. "Your rules?" I said, "This is my property." She scoffed. "Oak Glen Estates owns this lake. We have signs, meetings. You're camping without authorization." Harper held onto my arm. I remained calm. "Check your map and property lines." "We will, and we'll call the police," Linda smirked. 10 minutes passed, and 2 cruisers pulled up, lights flashing. They said I was trespassing on their community lake, the same lake my grandpa taught me to fish, the dock I rebuilt, the pines we planted. I handed Harper a water bottle, instructed her to remain by the fire, and approached with my deed. "Evening, officers," I stated. "This deed states I have 112 acres, including this lake and their gazebo and trail." One of the officers blinked. "You're telling me the HOA is trespassing?" I nodded. "They've had barbecues, constructed sheds. They charge fees to use my water." Then Harper yelled. I turned around. She was pointing toward the trees where HOA members were coming, camera in hand, yelling, "We're getting this guy arrested. This lake's ours." Harper whispered again, "Daddy, they're frightening me." Something inside me broke. I stood up straight and said, "Enjoy your HOA lake parties. Tomorrow you'll each receive a letter informing you that you've been illegally occupying my land and the party's over." The crowd gasped. Linda crossed her arms. "We'll see about that." The officer's radio crackled. "County Land Records confirms Thomas Walker owns a lake. Water rights. Full perimeter." Silence. The officer turned to Linda. "Ma'am, unless you can prove otherwise, he's camping on his property." Linda's face froze. Then an SUV screeched up, and out stepped my Uncle Darrell, who I hadn't seen in a decade. He looked furious. "Tom, let's not do this here," he said. "This lake was part of a disputed parcel I sold to Oak Glen 14 years ago." "What?" I snapped. "You said you only sold the wheat field." "Survey lines got blurred," he muttered. "Maybe you don't own this lake." Linda sneered. "Even his family doesn't know." The officer requested up-to-date documents. I whipped out my zoning documents, submitted 4 months prior with GPS coordinates. The officer perused them, though, as Linda charged forward. We planted trees. We hosted fundraisers. Our children swim here. That's heritage. They never asked, I replied. Suddenly, a child came running up, yelling, "Mom, the playground's destroyed. It's rubble." Linda yelled, "Somebody bulldozed it." Everyone stared at me. I held up my hands. I didn't touch it, but Harper whispered, "Daddy, that bulldozer man you called last week, did he think the playground was trash?" My heart constricted. I'd instructed the cleanup crew to remove non-ranch buildings, thinking of decaying benches, not the playground. "Daryl, huh?" Linda spat. "You'll pay for this. We'll sue." Harper looked up at me and asked, "Are we okay, Daddy?" I knelt down beside her. "Of course, baby. We're standing our ground." But my brain was whirling. If the land belonged to me, the HOA was guilty of illegal development and fraud. If not, I demolished their playground. The officer remarked, "This is more than an argument. All of you go home." Linda gestured toward me. "This isn't finished." I grinned. "It's only just beginning." Daryl cautioned, "These folks never give up." I asked him why he appeared now. He replied Linda phoned him regarding a person camping on the HOA lake. "Double-check your parcel history, Tom," he said as he drove away. As the sun rose, I looked at the lake, which was now a war zone. A guy in a suit walked up with a briefcase in his hand. "Mr. Walker, I'm Peter Langley, on behalf of Oak Glen's Council. The HOA has filed an injunction to prevent you from developing this property." He tossed me a paper stating they'd cared for the lake for 13 years. "Settle," he told me. "Accept mutual access, and this disappears." "They called the police on me and frightened my daughter." I told him. "They constructed without permission." He gave me until noon before they would serve me. I took the morning to search through files and made a trip to the county records office. June, the clerk, explained that the northern half of the lake was a gray area of the law, never officially entered on my grandfather's deed. I would need a quiet title action to establish ownership. Harper handed me a menacing HOA notice. That evening, I witnessed 2 people digging close to the old playground location, Sharon, the HOA treasurer, and a guy. His shovel struck a wooden crate. Sharon uttered, "We burn it tonight. If Tom pursues a quiet title, we can't afford to risk what's inside." I slipped away, seething with rage. They weren't trespassing. They were concealment. I phoned Wes, my attorney buddy. "They're destroying evidence," I said. He instructed me to take pictures. I had pictures by morning of destroyed HOA invoices and fake maps that dated back before the land sale. Wes showed up, and we went over the evidence. Fake meeting minutes, a blueprint that marked the lake as HOA property several years before the neighborhood had been built. "This is intent," Wes said. "They knew it wasn't theirs." A note slipped under my barn door from the State Land Commission, asking to reopen the lake as public because of extensive use. Wes swore. Linda ran to the state, hoping for a prescriptive easement. Then my phone call, a block number. A nervous voice. "I'm a board member." "Linda's mistaken. I have the original file showing the land was not ever donated, but she's retrieving it tonight." The line disconnected. Wes and I went to Oak Glen's clubhouse, parking in an open area. Linda came with Sharon and 2 men with a storage container. Sharon spilled a folder, showing a map with my grandfather's name. A hooded man across the road taped them. We pursued them, but they lost a flash drive and disappeared. The motive had a 15-year-old survey establishing the lake was never HOA property, along with emails acknowledging they were aware and intended to acquire it by adverse possession. The sheriff called, informing us Linda accused us of trespassing. We took the flash drive to the station. Linda sat smugly with photographs of us in the bushes. I turned over the drive, telling them it contained proof of forgery and fraud. The sheriff stated the files matched an anonymous backup. Linda was left speechless. Then an HOA member ran into the room. "The clubhouse is burning." We sped to Oak Glen. Fire engulfed the clubhouse. The hooded person observed from the trees. and then disappeared. At the sheriff's office, we encountered Kyle, Sharon's son, who had lost a flash drive. He provided a 2006 letter from my grandfather authorizing the HOA emergency access only to the trails, not ownership. Linda was arrested for obstruction and fraud. Sharon pleaded out. Kyle was shielded as a whistleblower. Henry Lewis, the first surveyor, forwarded unchanged maps demonstrating the lake was never Oaklands. The state targeted Chadwick Development, the corporate sponsor of the HOA, for fraud. I was awarded ownership of Mirror Point Lake. We discovered unauthorized water pipes from my lake to Oak Glen and cut them off, drying their lawns and pool. Residents apologized, and I started constructing a learning center near the lake for children to learn land rights. But one evening, a message from an unknown number sent a shiver down my spine. You were never to inherit the lake. Your grandfather had a deal fall through. Ask him why he never crossed Mirror Point. In his old notebooks, I discovered a mention of declining a marina offer that would claim the lake and all else. He had written, "Save it for our family, for truth." Harper and I camp by the lake monthly now, reclaiming its peace. If anyone tries to take it again, they'll learn. This lake belongs to the truth,